Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So we're going to bring you some of the latest news stories here today, pressing news from a very unique perspective. And today we're diving into a story that's causing quite a stir in DC. Elon Musk, the tech billionaire, as we all know, for his ventures like Tesla, SpaceX, has taken on a new role as head of the Department of Government Efficiency. But some people are arguing that this is not an official role, that he has been selected by Donald Trump, but not appointed and or confirmed. But I say that this is a new government temporary organization that is aimed at auditing fraud, waste, and abuse within our government. Now, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management eventually informed agencies that their workers could ignore the email that Elon Musk sent out last week, but they're doing it for a second term. And Donald Trump has backed up Elon Musk. Why is this important? Because people are stating that he is not in an official role. He is not in an official capacity. By the way, Elon Musk is not even taking any money. I mean, being the richest man in the world, and we'll get on that. He is not the richest man who's ever lived, but currently he's the richest man in the world. I don't really think he needs a paycheck from the government, the same government that he's investigating, the same government that he's auditing. Now, this unprecedented move has sparked a very power struggle within Congress, within the Senate, within our government, with the president fully supporting Elon Musk's actions amidst widespread public and political backlash. Labor unions have legally challenged Musk's mass layoffs and threatening emails, and a federal judge has restricted Musk's team from accessing sensitive data. I want to know what you guys think. Put it in the chat or leave it in the comments after this video of, do you agree that Elon Musk is the right person to leave DOGE? And is he operating outside of his capacity? If he is operating outside the scope of what he's actually was selected to do? And do you guys agree that he has no federal basis to do some of the things that he's doing? I already know that you guys agree with the transparency, but we're talking about the man himself and the way that he's going about it. Now, with this very same things about these DOGE efforts, as we continue our coverage on Elon Musk and this very aggressive approach to downsizing the federal government, and it hasn't been without its challenges. Legal battles are mounting as labor unions and federal employees push back against what they describe as heavy-handed tactics, talking about, what did you do last week? Justify in 5 bullet points of what you have done. Now, at first, I thought this was very petty. I thought this was Elon Musk trying to insert himself as the CEO of all the federal government agencies. But something else came out that I want to make you guys aware of. This is another strategy. This is another method that DOGE is going about, asking people what they did last week, not for those who are at work, not for those who are doing their job, but for those who may be fictitious in the positions that they held. What am I talking about? Imaginary employees. That is what this is essentially about. This is how a lot of the rhetoric has been spewing across different news agencies, is that this is a tactic, this is a strategy to comb out, to sort out people who possibly don't even exist, but is receiving a paycheck. Now, we all know that money is going somewhere, even when they say that it's not going anywhere. Because again, if the money isn't going anywhere, shouldn't the money be refunded back to the government? But that is not what's happening. So again, this is, again, a bigger ploy for DOGE to see, are there fictitious, virtual, made up, fantasy employees that are receiving government payments? And again, I think at first I kind of disagree with this method, but if this is the true strategy or method behind finding out if we have all of these dummy accounts, these slush funds, so to speak, or where all this government money is being hidden and then funneled through corporate entities back into politicians' pockets, then the American people should absolutely know. Again, that is what I gather from reading multiple news agency, and I come up with my own, like, yeah, this could be a bigger strategy for them to find out certain things about this. Now, as we shift gears to international news, We know that French President Macron has issued a stern warning to President Trump regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And Macron cautioned against a surrender of Ukraine during talks, emphasizing that any peace agreement must ensure Ukrainian sovereignty and include verifiable guarantees. That's what the French president said, that Ukraine must have guarantees. I don't totally disagree with him. I don't totally disagree. I think as a sovereign nation, Ukraine do need some guarantees before a ceasefire and or a peace treaty is signed. But this comes to the response to President Trump's claims that Russia, President Vladimir Putin, is open to a peace agreement involving European peacekeepers. And the divergence is their approach to the conflict was highlighted by the U.S. recent vote against a UN resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, contrasting with Europe's stance. Again, a lot of people are giving Donald Trump a lot of flack because they're stating, why are you making deals with Russia when Russia is the country that invaded Ukraine? Isn't that backwards? And a lot of people are saying that President Trump and President Putin are homeboys, that, hey, you know, you guys started a fight. I'm trying to come in and be the mediator so we can calm both sides down. Again, in my opinion, for the American people, we just want the war over with because we keep getting bogged down with massive amounts of debt of supporting countries who don't have any investments in the United States of America. Now, yesterday I reported that the U.S. are in trade deals with Ukraine for minerals, and hopefully that will pan out and subsidize some of the $200 billion and military resources and human capital by military soldiers of strategies about how they should go about this war, how we're going to get repaid. Again, we have $36 trillion in debt. And the only way that the Democratic Party sought to pan out, or as some people say, which I don't think is possible, not for quite some time, is to balance the debt, is to raise your taxes. And again, I don't know if our taxes are going to be raised, but I do recall President Trump talking about giving $5,000 back for those who are single, and I believe $10,000 back. And you guys can quote me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I do. It's just so much information, but he's talking about because all the masses of tariffs and possibly going to a national tax versus income tax, property tax, sales tax, state tax, federal tax. We have a lot of taxes in America, still not as much as they have in Europe, okay? Europe, they're taxing people at 40, 45, 50%. Okay, I don't even know how there are any rich people in Europe. They probably got loopholes in their tax code. But nonetheless, this is probably one of the reasons why. So again, I applaud to you guys about how we should go about this when it comes to our relations internationally on the front stage. Now, in a surprising turn of events, the U.S. has aligned with Russia with the United Nations voting concerning the Ukraine conflict. Now, the UN Security Council adopted the U.S.-led resolution calling for peace, which passed with 10 votes in favor. Notably, Russia supported the resolution. Russia supported the revolution while traditional U.S. allies like France and the UK abstained. But this move signifies a shift in the U.S. foreign policy, raising questions about the current administration's stance on the Ukraine crisis and its implication for international alliances. Now, what are the benefits of being in business with Russia? Now, I know you guys can't really see this graphic. I'm not paying for this mess. But nonetheless, Russia President Putin has extended an offer to the United States proposing deals involving rare earth minerals. All of a sudden, this is all of a sudden now that we are in deals with Ukraine. Is Russia trying to box out Ukraine so they can be in good graces with the U.S.? Because again, I do believe that President Trump and President Putin do like each other. I believe, you know what I'm saying, they're homeboys, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what type of handshakes they make, but nonetheless, I think they're homeboys. And they're trying to make a deal of sorts, trying to end the war. But President Putin says, hey, we have rare earth minerals as well. So if we include those from occupied Ukraine territories, This proposal comes as the US and Ukraine are negotiating a separate deal on critical minerals. But Putin's offer aims to entice US companies with access to these valuable resources, potentially reshaping the geopolitical landscape of energy and technological sectors. Again, I think Putin is being very strategic how he handles not only the US, but President Donald Trump. He knows that he's a businessman and he's speaking to the business savviness of a potential good deal for the US. But we'll update you guys as more come out concerning that particular story. Now, as you guys know, that the Department of Education, the Department of Education has abruptly taken down applications for key student loan forgiveness and repayment programs. And this action follows a federal court injunction against parts of the student loan repayment plans, specifically targeting the Saving on a Value Education, also known as the SAVE plan. Now, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a decision blocking the SAVE plan, arguing that the Secretary of Education and former President Biden did not have the authority to authorize it. This ruling has left millions of borrowers in limbo, uncertain about the future of the loan forgiveness application. So, for the time being, unfortunately, there are no loan forgiveness. Now, this is unprecedented, in my opinion. I spoke out against this. Now, we understand that education in America is astronomically high. It's very expensive to go to college. You're probably better off going to a trade school and then accumulating a certain amount of funds and then going into maybe your bachelor's, or going to a community college to get your associates, and then waiting so you don't accumulate massive amounts of debts. But a lot of people was for this. There was a lot of people from the Republican side, and I don't mean the politicians, I mean the people. A lot of people from the Republican side who were not doing so well financially, and a lot of people from the Democratic side, for those who are not doing so well financially, stating that, yeah, this is a great program because education in America is high. And this is what I stated. Before you guys sign applications, pay for the application fee for college. Listen, you have to pay an application fee just to go to college. Just to fill out the application, you have to pay a fee, $50, $75, $100, depending on what college you go to. You have to pay an application fee just to see if they're accepting you into the college, and then they hit you with $30, $40, $50, $70,000 a year to go to college. And that may include room and board and books. But again, everybody knows how expensive it is to go in college. But nonetheless, in order for us to compete in the private and public sector, we need these hierarchies of education so we can compete against people who have the same credentials, who have the same experience, etc. But we sign it knowing how much it's going to cost us, thinking we're going to get some sort of federal aid or federal support, grants, low interest loans. But a lot of us know when we go to these Division 1A schools, Florida State, Penn State, Nebraska, you name it, a lot of these colleges, a lot of these universities are very, very expensive. But we go to these colleges because of the prestige. We go to MIT because we know we graduate from MIT, we're almost guaranteed a job at Bell Labs, NASA, SpaceX, Blue Force, Space Force, all these different organizations, whether they be federal or private. We know that we have a spot when we go to some of these top-notch colleges. But when Joe Biden came out and stated that he was going to do student loan forgiveness, the first thing I thought about was, what about all the other people who paid their college debt? It's not applicable to them. It doesn't apply to them. But we knowingly did this. We knowingly signed the application. We paid the $50. We paid the $75 to apply to go to this college. And we did volunteer hours, and we sent in, our portfolio of all the accolades that we did in high school to go to these colleges and pay these very obscene fees. And now they're cutting it out. And this is what I say. I think there needs to be some sort of government-ran program that caps the amount of money that colleges can charge you. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of the money that we pay when we go to a lot of these higher learning facilities, the professors, the teachers, they need to get paid handsomely, okay? It doesn't matter what level. It could be pre-K, kindergarten, all the way through 12th in college and beyond. They need to get paid handsomely. But for people just to go to college for free in America, been somewhat of a capitalist and socialist society, I think we have quite a bit of social programs. And I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't go to college, but as I told my son, I said, listen, we're not rich. You may have to go to 2 years community college, and then we'll find you, a 4-year college for you to go to. But there's no way, unless you get a scholarship, okay? I don't care if it's weave basking, underwater basket weaving. I don't care what it is, water polo. Unless you get a scholarship, you're part of the chess club, you're part of Avid and DECA and all these scholastic sort of clubs that you make because you have a 3.8 or 4.0, you're the valedictorian or salutatorian. Unless you get some sort of degree, unless you get some sort of scholarship, yeah, we're gonna have to look into community college, and you may have to do community service to go to some of these community colleges because we're gonna have to subsidize some of the payments we're gonna have to pay to a lot of these colleges. But again, there are certain steps that we're taking to lower the cost. The 529 college plan, I know you guys are probably aware of that, but nonetheless, I understand when you're trying to decrease a $36 trillion debt, unfortunately, a lot of these social programs may go away, and they are going away slowly but surely, okay? Look at good old Apple. Yep, we see you. Tech giant Apple has announced plans to invest over $500 billion in the United States over the next 4 years. That's a lot of money. That's $500 billion. That's over $100 billion in the next 4 years. And this investment includes creating 20,000 jobs and constructing a new server factory in Texas, slated to open in 2026. Please, no. The traffic in Texas is getting horribly bad. Someone, Tesla moved to Texas. There's a lot of companies that move from Seneca Valley, California to Texas. Whether it be Austin, Houston, Dallas. And again, Texas have a lot of large cities and then a lot of large little cities. And a lot of these tech companies are moving from California. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the economics in California, but let me put you guys up on game. You have a house in California. It's 1,500 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. That house is worth like $2 or $3 million. You come to Texas around 2 or 3 years ago, you could do this, but now the prices are astronomically high in Texas, especially North Texas. Nonetheless, you come to Texas after selling your house and you have $3 million in the bank. You know what people are doing? The people from California that come into Texas, you know what they're doing? They're buying 2 houses. They're buying one house to live in, another house to rent out. And again, I'm not knocking their hustle. I'm just stating that they're bringing a lot of people with money that are raising the prices of houses in Texas, and regular Texans are crying foul, as they should, because why aren't all of these other states offering some of the same subsidies and tax relief deductions to these tech companies so Alabama, Missouri can be tech giants as well, instead of what people are stating that a lot of these, Midwestern, down south hick towns, they could easily do the same thing that Texas, by the way of Governor Greg Abbott, is doing to lift up their economy as well. But nonetheless, the announcement comes as President Trump threatens tariffs that could increase the cost of iPhones made in China. Apple's commitment is seen as a strategic move to mitigate potential tariff impacts and demonstrate a significant boost to U.S. manufacturing innovation. This is what Donald Trump is doing in his America First agenda. He is really, really applying pressure to American companies to bring jobs back to America. And look, the CEO of Apple is stating, President Trump, I see what you're trying to do, and you're trying to invest in America. So what we're going to do, over the next 4 years, we're going to invest $500 billion and we're going to create 20,000 jobs. Now, and again, I know. A lot of these jobs are in tech. So I implore you, I encourage you, I inform you to push your children and in yourself to start learning something about tech. I don't care. Automation, robotics, AI, I don't care what it is. Coding, learn something. Yes, it's going to take your time. It's going to take sacrifice, but this is the new frontier of America. Yeah, because a lot of these tech jobs, a lot of these jobs that he's going to create, these 20,000 jobs, what do you think Apple's involved in? They have Apple robots. They're making an Apple car. They have Apple software. They have an Apple device. They have Apple devices. If you're not going to be an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, a software engineer, you better be an engineer or something. If you're still in the job market and you're not in your later days where you're about to retire here in the next 5 years, those people are somewhat safe. But if you have an extra 10 years to work, you might want to start learning some tech skills. You might want to learn how to write a couple of code. You might want to learn how to write script. And again, there's a lot of free courses, right? Google. I learned how to write some script using Google app script. You can learn that. And here's another thing. You guys can actually learn how to script using open AI platforms, large language models like ChatGPT, Claude Sonnet, the new version of 3.7. You also have talking AI that you can just talk to it if you're not a good typer or asking questions. Maybe you want to converse with the AI. You have AI like Zora, that's under ChatGPT. You have Gemini. You have Copilot by Microsoft. I can go on and on and on. There's no reason living in the world today, the modern technology world, that you guys should ever have a lack of tools at your disposal. There's no excuse. And again, I told my son, I said, listen, you're going to be an engineer, coder, software. This is where it's going. Unless you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, etc., that's where the market is going. We have to prepare our kids for the future. Good morning, everyone. I see Volvo in the room. Get Black with me. I'm going to read some of your comments here very briefly. Let me read some of your comments. Let's see. Education don't have to be expensive. I agree. That's one of the problems to go chasing jobs. Sounds like the economy has been operating like a Ponzi scheme for quite some time. Indeed, it has. I do agree with that. Not only traffic, but also pollution, land grabs from farmers. Okay, Get Black with me have a multitude of comments. Okay, it states that one person can produce a tremendous amount of tech labor. Indeed, they can. But nonetheless, when I get into the billions and billions and billions of dollars that these organizations have, it also reminds me of Elon Musk, okay, and the H-1 visas that a lot of us have forgotten. I haven't forgotten about the H-1 visa, that a lot of those visas from SpaceX as well as Tesla are going to people who derive from the country of India. And again, we hear that all of these jobs are coming back to America, but are they going to be allotted for America? Here's the problem. Does America have the population with the skills, education to do a lot of these tech jobs? Because countries like China, India, Japan, they are heavily invested in tech. Have you guys been to these countries? Have you got some of the same technology? When I was stationed over in Korea for 4 years, and I didn't volunteer to stay, by the way. I didn't volunteer. But no. Korea is a very nice country, very safe country, great food, okay people. I won't get on the race component of that. I'll leave it alone for now. But there was already advanced technology. When I went over there, my first stint in Korea was, man, that was such a long time ago. No, let's see, 1999 was Japan. I want to say it was like 2006. My first time in Korea. It was such a long time ago. I think it was 2006. Don't quote me on that, but it was a while ago. It was over 10 years ago, my first year in Korea. And I remember being on the subway and people had cell phones with antennas watching TV. And I was like, we can't even do that in America yet. Where they was watching regular broadcasting television in Korea, right there on the cell phone. They had antennas built inside their cell phones. I was like, Wow. So again, here in the next month or so, I'm gonna travel to a country. I'm gonna do quite a bit of recording just for you guys to see the technology. I think it's gonna be a technology base so you guys can be encouraged to, again, push your family forward into the new frontier. That's all I got for you guys. I really want you guys to do well. Okay? But let's talk about somebody who else was rich. Are you guys familiar with Mansa Musa, the wealthiest and most powerful African king in history, the most richest man in history? But I want you guys to imagine a king so wealthy that his generosity caused an economic crisis. You think that Elon Musk will do anything of this magnitude? Because Mansa Musa, a ruler so powerful that his name still echoes through history as the richest man to ever live. Meet Mansa Musa, guys. The legendary ruler of Mali Empire who reigned from 1312 to 1337. His wealth was so unmatched, making him the richest man in recorded history. He expanded the Mali Empire into one of the largest and most powerful in Africa. He turned Timbuktu into a global center of knowledge, trade, and culture. Yet, despite his influence and impact, his story is often left out of mainstream history books. But today, we give Mansa Musa his well-deserved recognition as one of the greatest rulers the world has ever known. Born around 1280 CE, Mansa Musa belonged to the powerful Kid dynasty of Mali. And Mansa means king of kings. In the Mandinga language, he became emperor in 1312, inheriting one of the richest lands in the world. Under his rule, Mali controlled nearly half of the world's gold supply. Mansa Musa didn't just rule, he built an empire of wealth, culture, and innovation. Historians estimate Mansa Musa's net worth in today's value to be around $400 to $500 billion, more than Jeff Bezos, more than Elon Musk, and more than Bill Gates combined. Now, let me guys show you some other rich people that lived inside the world. Are you guys familiar with a lot of these other rich figures? I'm pretty sure that you guys are. Mansa Musa, they couldn't even measure his wealth. They said that his wealth is indescribable. His wealth is indescribable. Some names that you guys may be familiar with. August Caesar, they got him at 4.6 trillion. Again, some of these numbers are astronomical. Look at Andrew Carnegie, okay, the Scottish American industrialist, 372 billion. John D. Rockefeller, American business magnate, $341 billion. Nikolai Romanov, $300 billion. Okay, Muammar Gaddafi, $200 billion. William the Conqueror, $229.5 billion. These guys were absolutely rich, but they was not richer than Mansa Musa. Mali controlled vast gold and salt mines, the most valuable resources of that era. Trade routes from North Africa to the Middle East passed through Mali, making it a commercial powerhouse. Mansa Musa empire stretched across modern-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guyana, Niger, Nigeria, and Chad. His empire was so wealthy that Mali became one of the richest and most influential civilizations of its time. In 1324, Mansa Musa embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, an event so extravagant that it shook the global economy. Traveled with a caravan of 60,000 people, including soldiers, merchants, and scholars, brought 100 camels, each carrying hundreds of pounds of gold, gave away so much gold in Cairo, Egypt, that it caused a financial crisis, deflating the value of gold for a decade. His journey put Mali on the world map, proving Africa was home to immense power and wealth. Mansa Musa didn't just collect wealth, he built a legacy that shaped Africa and world history. Turned Timbuktu into a center of learning, founded the University of Sankore, one of the greatest educational institutions in history. He encouraged literacy, scholarship, and the spread of Islam, making Mali an intellectual hub. Commissioned stunning mosaics and architecture, some of which still stand today, like the mosaic of Danjigaba. His investments in education and culture made Mali a beacon of knowledge for centuries. Even centuries after his reign, Mansa Musa's influence can still be seen. He changed the perception of Africa, showing it was a land of wealth and power. Timbuktu remains a symbol of African scholarship and culture. His economic policies laid the foundation for trade and commerce in West Africa and what we know of today. So again, today we salute the richest man that ever lived. I wonder if Elon Musk has his own goals of being the richest man that ever lived. Because if I'm not mistaken, Elon Musk is roughly worth $200 billion. You know what? Let's do a quick Google search. We got the time, do we not? How much? Can we look this up? See, how much? $384 billion. Now, the difference between how much Elon Musk is worth and I believe Mansa Musa is that Mansa Musa's wealth wasn't his worth. That was actually liquid cash in the form of currency of gold. That's the major difference. So again, when you look at all the businesses that Elon Musk has, supposedly if he liquidates that, he will have $385 billion. That's a lot of money. Mark Zuckerberg, $236 billion. Bill Gates, 108. Jeff Bezos, 230. He's getting close. He's getting very close. And I know a lot of his money is from government contracts. I know. But nonetheless, I thank you guys for joining me here this morning. Give Black says Mansa Musa was in his hands. We can never really say. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. You guys have a great and wonderful morning. See you guys this evening. This is Black Logic.